Welcome back, Smite King. Hope you missed us. We certainly missed you. It's still Melm, it's still Wormy. And I gotta say, I've been looking forward to this one because I am an absolute believer in the chances of an underdog, the miracle type of plays, and name and progress against Cowabunga. They've got a chance to make some big names for it themselves. And you also can make a name for yourself in the Smite scene. All you gotta do is play. And if you want to play right now, exclamation point access in the Twitch chat. Enter the code SMITE2 Esports, and you'll grab yourself a key on your platform of choice. And who knows, maybe you'll be the next one to compete up against a team like Cowabunga and try to make a memory yourself. But they in progress, it is not going to be an easy task to take down Cowabunga Lermy. There's no sense in dancing around the issue that they're up against here, and it's a pretty significant team. The favorites from day one.
Yeah, I was gonna say crowd favorites across the board might be a bit of a dangerous situation here for Name in Progress, but they have also proven a lot of their worth, right? They are still 2-0 going into this matchup, so they haven't been defeated yet, and it's been an exciting journey for them through the Swiss stages as well.
And one thing, as we look at the bracket, I want to point out with Name in Progress in particular, I had the luck of being on the set last week against Garf's Goblins with Name in Progress, where they did beat Garf's Goblins 2-0. That same Garf's Goblins that we just saw decimate Alec Club, they had the same experience against Name in Progress. So it's there. 100% it is there. Name in Progress have the ability to play up. It's just a matter of, have you been putting the time in scrim wise? Have you been putting that work in? Do you have the research on the team? Do you have to, because you have to have everything go perfect, Lermy, and then somehow outperform Cowabunga. But it's still possible.
It is possible. That is correct. We've seen plenty of underdog stories make their moments here over in the Swiss stages of things. And like you were talking about, the research is going to be very important, especially because this is a swift changing environment, is the Smite 2 alpha thus far. We've seen 3 patches over the past week with amounts of balance, between them, including a very, very large one coming through on Wednesday, adjusting a lot of the cooldown items. So I'm really excited to see how they approach this meta going forward and also what they choose to select, right? That's going to be
Mm.
the big name of the game is, can you keep Cowabunga under control? Can you hold the line until the late game and then make those plays perfect to where you can find the victory?
I like the call. Can you hold the line until the late game? Because that is one thing that we've seen so far in Smite 2. As you mentioned, a lot of changes to balance recently, but one consistent thing has been, if you can make it to late game, if you're on an equal footing with the other team and you
Mhm.
win a fight late game, you can win the game. It is possible. You can play your
Absolutely.
cards right, even against the best of players. It's getting there. That is the toughest thing, and, against a roster like Cowabunga, it's gonna be tough, but it all starts in picks and bans. What will be banned away? You've got one to play with if you are either of these teams. Cowabunga on your order side, that means they get the first selection. Name and Progress will be the Chaos side, and this is where the perfection has to start for Name and Progress, Lermy.
Indeed. We saw some amount of progress, I guess is the word that I'll use, against Cowabunga when playing against specifically targeting out these mid laners, taking away the Hecate, taking away the Cuckoo, leaving the options on the table to be few and far between. But the choices here across the board are to actually target the junglers, with Loki being banned by Cowabunga and Fenrir by Name in Progress. But that is going to mean that Baron is the first selection for Cowabunga, and hard to say where this god will go. Can flex into any of 3 roles at this point in time, and might honestly be able to go into more depending on how they want to play it.
Yeah, North America has been the spot for the Baron mid if you were to see it. Not as likely, I feel like, with Paul in particular, but we have seen it a few times, so it's not out of the realm of possibility. Much more likely would be that support role. But what's interesting is with Odin being grabbed up first by Name in Progress, we have the same situation we had in the previous set. Yamoja still available alongside Hecate, the Jingweis of the world. There's sets of Cowabunga with some pretty good options, including that Sasano as well, that we saw do so well in the last set.
Yeah, it is curious to me that we're going to put so much priority on taking away junglers and then not taking the Susanna yourself, to where it makes me think that this Odin might actually be the choice for the jungle. But again, Odin, very flexible, can go kind of anywhere. But Yamoja will be the selection, doubling down on the healing here for Cowabunga, but also doubling down on characters that get stuck in Odin Cage. And speaking of doubling down, no, in fact, they are tripling down on this healing, which is surprising to me considering the Odin was already locked in.
I guess everybody's going Phantom Shells anyway, so maybe Cowabunga feel like they're going to have enough options to deal with the Odin Cage and not be too bothered by it. Maybe they think they're going to have enough fight that it won't matter at the end of all things. But what's really interesting, we talked about the jungler. You made a great call out that the Odin might be the jungle because it was jungle control, jungle ban, and you have that first selection. Maybe that's what they used it on? Maybe not, because Thanatos grabbed for name and progress, which throws the whole draft into whack for me.
Yeah, I know that Thanatos did receive a couple of buffs here over the past week, which is good. His Death Scythe now swings a little bit harder, and same thing with Soul Reap. However, I'm concerned a little bit because we saw in the last test, right, how even an item such as Phoenix Feather can bait an entire enemy team into trying to overcommit for a kill. What do you do when a team has so much healing and you're already up in the air as Thanatos and you dunk in, and guess what? They're now healed up to where the execute doesn't even matter. It's a selection that I think is chosen more out of comfort than it is out of draft priority, if I were to take a guess myself. I do think that Thanatos is a beast in the hands of someone that loves to play Thanatos, and Party Person could be that person that wants to take it and run with it. But with the rest of the comp coming out of Cowabunga being in Neath, and I suppose we're looking for a jungle selection at this point, since Baron's likely going over to solo. It's gonna be Mordred, I suppose, is the jungle here. And all of these targets to me have some way to deal with the Thanatos that I would be concerned about.
Last lock-in for name and progress is the Ymir. Mordred for Panatom. I mean, it's up there. We see Mordred jungle quite a bit. It's usually done okay. I will say yesterday in particular, there were a few instances where it didn't perform amazing, but as Trilly mentioned then, as I'll mention now, a lot of it had to do with build. You want to make sure you have your path locked in, but we've got our two compositions, we've got our teams, we've got our miracle in the making. If Name and Progress can do it, let's get onto the battleground and see if they can. Cowabunga versus Name in Progress. Malum, Lermy, and Doug to potentially see it all go down. Until those first bloods, until the end of the game, Lermy, anything is possible. And we talked about Phantom Shells, and boy did Cowabunga come ready with their Phantom Shells.
They sure do, except for Paul, who's got an Aegis, which honestly, I respect that a lot. I think that Paul is going to be the focus of the entirety of Name and Progress, if you ask me, because, again, he's this immobile character. And we saw what happened in the week prior when Paul get put on an immobile character, just got focused out, put in a cage, and knocked down several times, which is uncharacteristic for Paul, but this time playing a buffed up Anubis. And it might be a little bit different considering that he's got so much support at his sides from both Aurora and Sot with that healing.
Jungle start calm at the moment. Mid laner ST. Big standout on that Ymir in previous weeks. Might be somebody to look out for. No Sunders on any of the relics. 2 combat blinks, which I feel like one combat blink alone has started to feel rare with the rise in popularity of Shell, but 2, very eye-catching for me.
Yes, for sure. I think that it's a risky choice, right? But sometimes you have to make some risks to get things going. You have to crack a few eggs to make an omelet in this situation. And if we do see Party Person get to a lead with this blink and is able to make plays with it, then it will have been worth it, right? So I'm hoping to see some action early on for this Thanatos, and it's looking like he's already getting some, considering that he's stealing away some of these buffs.
I need more. Sot was aware, but won't end up taking the fight, and Party Person walks away with 2 belts. So positive start if you are rooting for Name and Progress today. Now, where does the Thanatos go from here? You got your own red buff, and could look at a gank at Paul as well. But Cuckoo's a bit far back. Those little movements early on, I keep saying the word perfect and that Name and Progress has to be perfect, Lermy. It's because I feel like they have to be, because nothing else, in my brain, nothing else will work.
Indeed. Speaking of perfect, though, great secure there coming out for Name and Progress, able to take that blue buff. and not allow it to go over to Cowabunga. A little bit of gold in the pocket of Name in Progress, but a good start so far. Taking it nice and easy. But again, it's really going to be up to how party person decides where to make his first move because, again, this Thanatos needs to get rolling. Picked the very aggressive relic option, and if it doesn't turn out to start to work in his favor, it will be concerning going into the later stage of the game.
Little bit of damage onto Aurora, but nothing that Name in Progress can act on. Arc Atlas below half, and there is a Mordred lurking. So if the Odin doesn't back up, we'll see if Pantom makes the play. That is the case. Thanatos matching the gank over to Duo, but calls it off, which means this is a solo gank. Arc Atlas in a lot of trouble, damaged out, but the blink for safety. And it works, so Arc Atlas lives to see another day, and the gank and Duo never came to fruition.
Back to base goes party person, and back to base goes Arc Atlas as well. Panatom lurking around in the enemy jungle, trying to see the timers for when those buffs will be available to steal them away, and might be a bit of danger here for this Cuckoo.
Kaidan wrapped up, beads out slightly late, a lot of damage on. Baron's Brew 2, but no first blood. Thanatos here for backup. Another close call, but still no blood has been spilt. And that could have gone worse for Kaidan. Kaidan, notably, Name in Progress, leaned on so heavily in that matchup against Garf's Goblins. Kaidan looked fantastic. In game 1, it was a Neath, and then game 2 on the Cuckoo that we're seeing right now. In particular, the ultimates were on it, so watch out for that.
Indeed. Some good damage here onto Sot, but junglers know that their buffs are coming up relatively soon, so they've got to be busy doing that. A little bit safer, as it turns out, for these lanes as well, but having known that their buffs were invaded in the first round, Cowabunga is now spending their time clearing out this right-hand side jungle, even though party person seems to be making their way over to see if they can make something happen here. They've got the timers, but it's going to be one Thanatos versus one Mordred.
You're a little early, too, on the timer. 5 seconds, so in stealth and can wait for it. Pantom will start the red instantaneously. Doesn't seem to be aware. Party person here, but level 5 now for Panatom. Gets the steal of the red buff. Can you get away? Pursue the weak. Not going to hit. Party person still okay, but again, no ultimate to stay alive. And that is 2 level 5s you are dealing with. There's the laser. There is the first blood to Panatom.
Just not enough farm to hit level 5 off of the big buff clear. And even though we did get one out of that, needed all of them to be able to hit that point where they could use the hovering death to get out. But speaking of someone who's not able to get out at this point, it's going to be mid laner ST. Actually uses the wall to get a solid chunk of distance, but a nice hit from the World Weaver sends the Ymir back to the base. This support player is unfortunately going to take a dip into the grayscale screen.
Not what you want if you are the Ymir in that situation for sure, but a good call out from Cowabunga. A lot of times full committing onto the support, a bit easier. Sod in some trouble, but has backup in the form of Panatom. Life of the party out. Arc Atlas will spawn with the cage. Pursue the weak, goes right through it, but the sidestep good for Arc Atlas. On the way back, got him! On the come around, and Panatom with their second kill of the game.
And that is on the Mordred buff that happened on Friday, ladies and gentlemen. That turn radius got improved by roughly 20%, and if it wasn't, that was not going to be a hit. So good on Panatom to recognize exactly how much he needed to turn to be able to make that happen. And an unfortunate situation there for the Odin, getting taken down by a little bit of mispositioning.
Yeah, if that was 2 weeks ago, I'm calling that a Healy's moment, and there's no kill for the Mordred. Could be another kill for the Mordred here. Party person, Heart Slash was out for the root. The damage real good. A killing spree now for Panatom. And the Mordred is off to as good of a start as you could possibly hope for if you're running a Mordred jungle.
Exactly, and this is Panatom we're talking about too, right? One of the best junglers in the world at several points in his career, and continues to show exactly why that is going on. Now though, making their way over to the left-hand side is the entirety of Cowabunga minus Sot, because guess what? It's Gold Fury time.
Spirit of the 9 Winds is up. Ymir going on the flank. There's a 9 Winds, not going to be in time. Gold Fury goes to Cowabunga. It was close. Had to be maybe a second faster on that Spirit of the 9 Winds, and it might have hit. But instead of gold for Cowabunga. And Paul stops the Chalice. I mean, it goes to the Name in Progress, but that's got to be one of the funniest ways to stop a Chalice I think I've ever seen. The wrap from that distance is crazy.
Yeah, I mean, it's the BM, right? You got to get in their head a little bit. And certainly, Paul has been doing that thus far. But Sot, tornado was about to be in danger. Party person decided to make their way over to the right-hand side, but seeing just how low their Odin was, the Thana decides to go and farm up their own jungle. And this is, a very nice catch there from Aurora on the dash from the Jingwei. Missed World Weaver there, which, happens when you got a really thick Ymir getting in the way, but they will be diving this.
No fear whatsoever, no junglers near, which will stop the plan. Aurora still looking for it if possible. Only hit the Ymir. And even still, Hostile Puppy is playing a very dangerous game. Thanatos did take Teleporter over to duo, so is nearby if Aurora and Yark keep pushing up. But now with Jingwei backed, it's a very interesting situation we got going on. Both purple buff and blue buff have some action. The purple one, stun out for Aurora, Phantom Shell to get through the wall. Thanatos seemingly really wants this, but 2 levels down, the Scythe not gonna hit. And that's the call to back away.
That slow was really needed to make something happen there, and Panatom is the one who wants to make something happen. Does some solid damage onto the Odin, but really it's just there to force him away and steal away this red. Thanatos, of course, was forced to rotate left earlier to make sure that Yark and Aurora weren't going too crazy on that tower, and does lose out on a solid chunk of that right-hand side farm. But at the same time, Panatom also losing out on that left-hand side farm.
Paul with the 1v1 on the Thanatos as well, but Thanatos just dips out. Pursue the Weak will chase down Arc Atlas. Turn radius not going to work out that time for Panatom, and can't get back through either. Life of the party onto Arc Atlas. They want this kill, and they will not be denied. This time it goes to Sot, the 5th one in total for Cowabunga. Name and Progress just having a tough start to this game.
Indeed. Roar putting the pressure on to Kaidan here as they are forced back under tower. Going to head back to base as well. Ooh, just a little bit short on the wrap there is Paul. That Ymir gets to slip away into the jungle for a little bit. Might just be looking to see what farm remains from this decimated jungle to earn themselves a little bit of extra XP and gold, but unfortunately nothing there quite yet. Has gotten the first item, Ruinous Ankh, though, which honestly, you gotta be going that item, considering you're up against a very, very heal-oriented composition. Even the Mordred and the Neat have some form of healing in their kit, so I love to see the anti-heal really come into play there.
A good pickup there for mid laner ST, a requirement. You pointed out in picks and bans, but everyone's got the healing on tap. You're charging up World Weaver, 2 on the way to duo. No help nearby for the Neat.
Oh, Yark. Watch
This
out.
is problematic, but maybe a chance to get away. Taking them the long way. The backflip decent, and the space is good. There's a Phantom Shell, which immunes a lot of the damage, essentially. Now it's a dive out from Name and Progress.
Oof.
But Yark is just too far away. The separation was too good on that initial backflip. Now the World Weaver on the Jingwei. She has to ult away. What a play from Yark.
Yark doing a great job of knowing exactly where he needs to be positioned to get back into that tower for safety, spacing out the Ymir so well. And guess what? Over here on this right-hand side, we've got Panatom once again putting the pressure on, and Sot pulling him back in to finish him off.
Cowabunga have no desire to deal with an Odin in this game, so they said, oh, what if we just eliminate him from relevancy? Now 0-3 on the Odin, 2 kills for Sot, 3 for Panatom, and 2 assists for each of them, so they're cooking. And Aurora just having
circles.
a fun time, yeah.
If anyone's having fun this game, it is Aurora, that is for certain.
There's Rebuke out, won't cut off Hostile Puppy. The Riptide brings them back to Yark. The damage is so strong. Phantom Shell's already out. Didn't do much, but it did give time for Hostile Puppy to create some space. Now Thanatos is on the way looking for a gank. That's a go button for Hostile Puppy to step forward. Aurora has to be the target of the two. It's so low, but Thanatos had to get through underneath and couldn't do it. So much damage on. There's the freeze. Can they kill Yark? Yes, they can. Started clumsy, but it ends up clean in a kill for Party Person. The first one for Name and Progress.
And that is what you love to see. Paul here taking some damage from this Kukulkan, able to barely slip out of that tornado unscathed, but trying to do some damage back as well. Panatom has made the rotation over to the left-hand side since the Gold Fury is up. This is mostly a rotation to dissuade any further progress for Name and Progress, but yet they will still attempt to go for this Gold Fury, which is a bit dangerous considering everything there is to see around this Gold Fury. Everybody making their way over from Cowabunga might be a little bit risky.
Weak. How many can you find? All of them! And the Gold Fury! Panatom's taking everything around the gold. All Panatom can handle is gold and then a cuckoo to the face. That's going to be a kill, but it's still working out for Cowabunga. One for Paul. Who gets Arc Atlas? Also Paul. A double kill. And Cowabunga, they just continue to be Cowabunga.
Yeah, I mean, did you see that healing there for Paul? He was about under half health. Gets bumped up by Sot on the Baron. Gets bumped up by Roar on the Umoja. And yeah, he's full health now, by the way. And this is nerfed Anubis as well.
The goobs. The goobs. As long as it's not ADC, I kind of still I can get excited by the Anubis. I'm tired of seeing Anubis ADCs. Not to get too off topic, but I'm just tired of seeing them. We saw them yesterday in EMEA and today in EMEA, and this is my plea for no more, please.
You do try to put pressure on Anubis regardless of where he goes, but so far this game we haven't seen really all that much pressure on Paul at all. And really, Panatom's been the one controlling the pressure across the board. We've seen Party Person make their way over to the dual lane a couple of times, only finding some amounts of success after that last left-hand side gank where they were able to drop the execute onto Yarkor. But they need to be showing a little bit more focus here onto this Anubis because he is level 14. He is the highest on the map, and just having grabbed that Cosmic Horror means that the cooldown is going to be looking even better for this doggo.
World Weaver charge sent out onto Hostile Puppy. And why, you might be wondering, there is a lurking Mordred. We'll run into two others first. Turns around, actually wants the fight, it seems. Party Person does get rooted out. Damage really good from Panatom.
Oh my God.
This is a fight that I think the Mordred can just take. Pursue the weak. Might kill the Thanatos alone on the landing, though. The Blake is good. Now Paul here. The laser. Too much through the wall. That's a dead Ymir. Thanatos did get away. But, I mean, come on. The damage there is just insane.
We're seeing a proxy come out here for Yark and Roar. And realistically, this is starting to get a bit out of hand. 9k here in the pockets of Cowabunga over their direct competitors in Name and Progress. And it's only 13 minutes, guys. It's getting a little bit dicey.
Very dicey. Very, very, very dicey. I mean, you've got to change the course somehow. You've got to get ahead of something. But what can you do? What can Hostile Puppy do against just everyone diving the tier 1 in duo? There's the airstrike, but Pursue the Weak is pursuing the weak ADC, and they are no more. They can't even land. Paul here, the wrap no good. Damage will be so good, it will not matter. 14 kills once Party Person goes down in solo to Sot.
9k turns to 11 in the blink of an eye. Left-hand side tower goes down. Another one might be soon to follow. And realistically, I mean, looking at this damage here from Sot onto the Odin, the World Weaver coming through does a good chunk, but really it's all to the shield. It's about how much did that slow down the Odin to get away from this Baron. He's got to be using those jumps on cooldown to make up this distance. Of course, Baron, no explicit movement ability, so gonna be okay is this Odin for now, but Sot might not be done. Sot, of course, has to get the BM backstop before running away, and realistically, he might be able to deal with this Ymir all by himself. Life of the party to suck him right up.
I'm laughing because the Cuckoo is proxying in solo. We're desperate for farm out here if you're naming progress.
Oh, for real.
Just of all the places I looked on the map and I was like, where's the Cuckoo gone? And I see him between the tier 1 and tier 2 in solo.
Listen, if you see everyone on the map and you're the mid laner, you're 15. You're the closest one to being relevant here on the rest of your team. In comparison, the level lead is only 1. And realistically, as this level 15 Cuckoo, you are ahead of a good chunk, at least the dual lane of the enemy team. But it's not going to stay that way for long with this third Gold Fury going to the side of Cowabunga. Ancient Fury spawning at only 15 minutes and 30 seconds into the game means that this game is quick to fall apart for Name and Progress if they don't get their act together. And realistically, this lead is really, really tough to get back into because we are starting to get to the point in the game where power spikes are about to go crazy. I mean, Aurora is about to hit the point where he's able to upgrade his starter. We're getting pretty close for a lot of the carries, but not quite there yet. It's really going to all depend on how Kaidan affects these next couple of fights. He is the most relevant when it comes to damage dealers for Name and Progress. Can he find a humongous ultimate? Or will Call and the gang continue to run it down?
Fire Giant pull, that's 16 minutes by Cowabunga. There is, I mean, Name and Progress is here, but what can they do? It's a really tough ask. To pursue the weak, just to check the left side, nobody there. The door used by Thanatos, fire low, goes to Cowabunga, and the Thanatos essentially opened the door to 6 feet deep in the dirt and just hopped in with the damage Paul just did.
I was kind of hoping
I got nothing else for that.
That the door, he got stuck in the wrap and the door would close on him. We've seen door execute kills before, and they're very funny, I won't lie to you. And that certainly would be a smack in the face, considering everything that Name and Progress has been through thus far. But regardless, that is a 4-0 into Anubis that he's going to be doing a ton of damage, especially with Fire Giant having just been secured, and I don't even know if Name and Progress can really contest this.
Oh, what a hero that minion was. What a sad way to go. The Riptide? I mean, oh, that was awful.
Sometimes you take one for the team, and Minion 34 really did it there. But Pharaoh's Curse being popped here by this jungler, trying to chase down this Ymir. Doing their best to keep him from backing, and really that is the big goal here, is make the space for these carries to damage the Phoenix. They've been doing a solid job thus far, and there goes mid laner ST. Not able to grab Hostile Puppy. Just
it doesn't stop.
Absolute menace, by the way. Behind the Phoenix. Does not care, by the way, that his team is getting owned by this Phoenix. Just wants to keep dealing the damage in the enemy fountain, and might be in a bit of danger because of it.
Oh,
just kidding. I lied.
Party versus the one in danger. Sot's just chilling in the throne room at this point.
Oh my god.
Arc Atlas barely gets away with the blink. Cowabunga, watch Sot. I mean, all the time in the world to do that Phoenix at least. That was kind of fun to watch. We're 18 minutes in, and it is 18-3. Hey, kill per minute. That's kind of fun. Gold is a lot for Cowabunga.
Gold is gold. At this
gold is gold, yeah. Name and Proc, their Cuckoo is level 18 on par with Paul. I do want to shout that out. Kaidon is still farming effectively. And all things considered, that's kind of impressive.
It's just so hard to make much work around these Phoenix engagements when the enemy team is so tanky. And don't forget the fact that Yamoja does have the ultimate here, able to at least make some space, not able to fully wall anyone out, but actually is taking quite a bit of damage there from the Soul Reaver of Kaidon, and needs to back it up a little bit here as Fire Giant still has a bit of time remaining on Cowabunga. They'll continue to put pressure on this Phoenix since it is half health, even without minions at this current stage.
Name and Progress just preparing for the onslaught, grabbing farm where they can. You can see the Thanatos in the jungle, looking for anything that might be there, then heading solo to clear out the wave. That's really your only option at this point if you are Name and Progress. You cannot do much else. World Weaver to start it off. Panatom looking for an opening. Pursue the weak out. Pursuing indeed. Will not find any. Oh, finds the Thanatos through the wall. Does a lot of damage. Forces a reposition from the Thana. Ultimate out from the Anubis as well. Didn't find much. Phoenix down. Thana in the sky on the landing. Can you find anybody? Or will Panatom simply kill everybody? Will everybody kill everybody? Cowabunga, they were ready to get out of game number 1. They start dropping Name and Progress left and right. The last one to stand was Arc Atlas, and he will go down. A double kill for Paul, and a game 1 victory for Cowabunga.
I think it's safe to say that Cowabunga is simply unbeatable in some of these matchups, right? That was a tough showing there for Name and Progress, because these are some of the most seasoned vets in the game when it comes to just competitive Smite play. It is hard to play against this team, and we saw even in previous weeks that Name and Progress has a lot of potential. They were 2-0 in their sets up to this point.
They look so good against Garth's Goblins.
They destroyed Garth's Goblins in the past week, right? They also took those guys 2-0, and it's just so incredible to see the step up, it feels like, that Cowabunga has taken to get this big of an advantage over their opponents who are in the same exact position they are when it comes to the standings.
It's one of those things where we got to call it like we see it. You know, that was an absolutely dominant victory. It's the definition of the word dominant for Cowabunga. But Name and Progress, that was always going to be a really tough fight. And there's still a lot to go no matter from this. There's even another game in the set. They can turn this around, and they've got a lot to do with it. You wanted information. You got information indeed. But with that, that's game number 1 in the books. Game number 2 when we come back from the short break.
And then I said, that's not Bacchus, that's Bilson's mother. That one always makes me laugh. But enough about my weekend. Hey, Gormizer, what's new with you?
Just picked up my SMITE 2 Founders Edition.
Very nice.
Purchased it on my preferred gaming platform just yesterday.
Nice skin.
It's Cacodemon Ymir. It comes with all SMITE 2 gods. Forever.
That's very cool, Gormizer, but that's nothing. Look at this. Night Stalker Neath and Ascension passes for 11 Alpha launch gods. What do you think?
Geez, that is really super. How'd a nitwit like you get so tasteful?
Can't believe that Dandy prefers Chelly's Founders Edition to mine.
Very nice. Impressive. Let's see JMax Founder Edition.
Look at that avatar, badge, and title. The tasteful thickness of Tier 5 Fallen Zeusia. Oh my god, it even comes with Ascension passes for all 23 Alpha gods.
Don't be like this psycho and upgrade your Founders Edition so you don't miss out on Night Stalker Neath, Tier 5 Fallen Zeus, and Ascension passes for the first 23 gods. Upgrade today.
You heard it from a very scary look of Gormizer. Upgrade to your Founders Edition today for good reason. I mean, my goodness, that was... If there's no ad that convinces you like that one, come on. But Founders Edition, it's awesome. I personally I said it yesterday, but I'm grinding out my On Her right now on the Ascension passes, which is probably my personal favorite thing that you get with the Founders Editions. You get them for all 23 Alpha gods. So grab your Founders Edition today, and if you've got a Founders Edition, or if you picked it up and you're finding yourself really enjoying SMITE 2, consider upgrading to either Deluxe or the Ultimate Founders Edition. You can do it very easily, and it's got a lot of cool perks alongside of it. And if you just want a starting point for SMITE 2 as well, don't forget exclamation point access in the Twitch chat to get yourself playing it today. But we got that covered. We got Founders Edition covered, got exclamation point access covered. Now we got to talk a little bit more about Game 1, which was essentially Cowabunga just, going Cowabunga.
things?
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. It's tough to find anything new to say about Cowabunga that hasn't already been said before. They are a phenomenal team full of veterans to the SMITE scene, world champions all around when it comes down to it. And they certainly did play like they knew their stuff. It's simply it's a tough match, regardless of what you say. But some would even say that this matchup is beyond the scope of what one team can handle here. But here's the thing, is that Name and Progress has shown time and time again that they can handle a lot of other teams. The thing is that they haven't hit a roadblock like this before. They need to learn how to actually come back from something of this nature because, again, this is the peak of the mountain when it comes to SMITE knowledge, SMITE gameplay, SMITE mechanics. And it is a tough rock to climb.
It's a tough mountain to get over, but one thing worth mentioning, of course, is you've got to get better somehow, and there's no better way to improve as a player than just getting smacked by the best in the world you can possibly find. And
Absolutely.
Cowabunga, they hit that check mark, and Name and Progress, if nothing else, will walk out learning a lot. They still have a game to play with. They can afford to lose one more in this best of 3, with Game 1 going the way of Cowabunga. I'd be hard-pressed to believe they didn't learn anything from Game 1. They picked up on a lot, even in the draft phase, which there were a couple of things we weren't huge on, but there were signs of some life in the game very early. Those first couple of minutes, we were both impressed by the jungle play, in particular by Name and Progress. If they can clean it up in draft, you turn your draft into a strong early game, who knows what you could do. So let's get into picks and bans and see what they do. Lermy, what are you thinking?
I'm really hoping that they start to focus out this mid lane. We saw a lot of success before when teams would ban out Paul or focus out Paul in their drafts. And so I'm hoping to see a little bit more of that from Name and Progress. I don't want to see the Loki ban here. That's the only thing that I'm thinking they gotta absolutely get rid of is no Loki ban. feel free to ban the Anubis, but realistically, I'm taking the Hecate. I'm grabbing an early mid laner as soon as I can. And there is the Anubis ban, like I was hoping that we would see. Just get Paul on something different and try and make it so that he's going to have a hard time to play.
I like the call out from you. Get rid of the Anubis. Cowabunga put in a position where they don't want to deal with the Baron. And if you can grab the Hecate, as you mentioned, you can also look at the Emoja here. You can control a lot more of the draft than Name in Progress had the opportunity to do in game number 1. That first pick still looming, though. They've got to make a decision on it. There's a lot you can go. Even this Asano, not necessarily a first pick, but it's up there. But Fenrir. So jungle was the look, at least a flex, a bare minimum circumstance. But Cowabunga now with 2 picks, and they've got the Hecate open. They've got the Emoja open. They've got Cuckoo. They have the world at their fingertips.
Yeah, it's crazy to think that we were used to watching a game with 130 characters in it and it feeling like there were only a couple viable choices at the time, right? But it really does feel like the world is Cowabunga's oyster right now in terms of what they want to select. The viability of characters is a lot more even than it felt like it has been in a long time in competitive Smite. So I'm really excited to see what they go for here. I wouldn't be surprised if they slap lock the Odin, and honestly, Emoja did really well, but I wouldn't be surprised to see another Neith, just because Yark was incredibly solid on that Neith, and no reason to mix it up. If it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Yeah, I'm with you for sure, and there is the Emoja. So great calls from Lermy. She's on it today for sure. But Name in Progress, though, they have some options still left. I mean, big one, Hecate. You said it early. You said you wanted to see Name in Progress grab it up. They're going to go with the Loki. So that tells us the Fenrir is more of a flex pick, but not the worst news ever, even if I'm not a believer, Lermy. What do you think?
Mordred.
The problem is that I'm not a believer either. This is looking to me that this is going to be a Fenrir support. And just taking a look at the selections on the other side for Cowabunga, it is really hard for me to justify the selections here for Name in Progress. It feels like they just have their priorities in a different place. And sometimes that's okay, right? Sometimes it's good to prioritize your personal player's comfort over what the meta is, right? But when you're giving Cowabunga people that can play anything, that have played everything, you might even say, for the past 11, 12 years of Smite for some of them, it is tough to be selecting the characters that arguably may not be the best in the meta when you're playing against people that could reasonably perform on anything, and you're choosing to take a slight weakness in that regard.
Must it be the mortal
I love the
one?
call out you just made.
Well,
of
I'll protect it
it's
nonetheless.
so funny. It goes back to the foundations of what Smite is, and something you hear a lot in the community tournament scene is this comfort over meta. Because at that level, being comfortable, you can still compete with your average opponent. But in this scenario, comfort over meta doesn't matter to Cowabunga. Their comfort is just the game. Their comfort is Smite. They're just good at Smite. So for Name in Progress, I mean, you've got to give yourself every possibility to play in a Cowabunga. But I see one big problem. They got the Hecate. We were both looking for that. Jing Wei grabbed up. Great ADC. Cowabunga has got a lot of good picks, including Paul on the Morrigan.
Paul's Morrigan is insane, but think about it. There's so many good transforms for him this game. He can turn into Neith for the snipes. He can turn into Odin for the cage, Yamoja for the healing, Fenrir for the bite. There's so many choices that he can go to, and he can even steal the Hecate away if he really wanted to, right?
True.
There's options abound for this mid laner, and if anyone's going to do it, it's going to be Paul, right? One of the best in the world, the best to ever do it. I think that this is a awesome selection across the board for Cowabunga. Their draft is essentially watertight. I really don't see there being many issues with their composition other than the Morrigan, right? And if this wasn't Paul, if this was literally anybody else, I'd be saying, okay, you can focus at this Morrigan and like find a way in, right? But here's the thing. We're not just talking about any mid laner. And it's hard with their performance in game number 1 to really think it's going any other way just because of how decimating they really were in the last engagement. I am trying to hold out hope here for Name in Progress, but this draft does not inspire confidence in me.
Name in Progress took one risk I kind of respect. They have a composition that wants to fight and requires kills to function. So they're at least they're putting their best foot forward. They're saying, all right, we will take the fights and we'll see how far we can go. It's just going to continue to be a battle One more chance at a miracle for Name and Progress, but one more game for Cowabunga, and they skip to the playoffs. Let's get onto the battleground and see if they can do it. Malum, Urmi, and Doug. Name and Progress running in the jungle. They found an Aurora, but Aurora saw them. So it's going to be tough to kill the emoji. I think Name and Progress know the same thing.
Honestly, if I'm Aurora, I'm like, oh yeah, we found them. Let's take this fight. Party person forced to use their blink already, and now it's going to be mid laner ST that may be in some amount of danger. Certainly still has the ability available. There we go, Leap being used, but now this kind of opens up the door with cooldowns being used across the board to steal away this jungle. And even Sots over here making some mayhem in the enemy jungle, looking for any kind of opening to steal away any ounce of farm their opponents may want to go for.
4 shells and a blink for Name and Progress as well. Bigger variety out for Cowabunga. And the fact everybody has a different relic, which I've not seen a lot of that so far in Smite 2, where usually you've got at least 2 members who are either running a shell, or you see a couple blinks, a couple sunders. This time everyone's got their own blend to bring to the group. I'm looking at the Sunder for Sot, though, as a big point of significance, because no Sunders for Name and Progress, which will make objectives even harder.
This is an interesting pickup, though, for Aurora on the emoji to grab the beads. We've seen this a lot in Smite 1 in this particular matchup when Fenrir has been meta, where Fenrir will go and try and focus out the emoji and try to, you know, continuously bring her under tower, because in the early game when her Omi is not quite as high, she has a hard time being able to get herself out of those situations. However, with the beads, it at least buys her some time to get that Talisman of Purification online to have even more safety in that regard. So I really like this choice from Aurora. I think it is very, very smart in this particular matchup.
I feel like just surviving in general is going to make Aurora even scarier. Like you said, the Yemoja play was so good. I know that was one of the first names that came to mind when Yemoja arrived in Smite 2 for me. I was like, oh, I can't wait to see what Aurora can do with it, and it's been early. Speaking of what you can do with a character, Sot doing a lot of damage to Arc Atlas, already forcing out that Phantom Shell. This to avoid an early first blood. Not an ideal scenario for that Mordred, who definitely doesn't want to be playing from too far behind.
And this is the Aurora special, really. Sitting at the enemy's speed, who was not able to pick it up initially because all of Cowabunga was lurking in this left-hand side jungle. And Party Person might want that speed buff, but the thing is that they've got to deal with the entire enemy team rolling up. Maybe not the entire one, but it might feel like it when the weight of 3 players is slamming at this Fenrir. That health bar going straight to 0 for first blood, making quick progress.
Almost a second blood as well. The bubble was even closer. Not an ideal situation for Hostile Puppy for sure, but at least they got away. First blood for Cowabunga. Maybe a second blood? Not quite. It's not low, but Arc Atlas would be risky to dive in onto the Bacchus. There's a lot of tools for a counter engage. Mid lane, Akate being dove on. Kaidan. Tanky for now. How long will that last? There's the stun. Panaton with some body blocks. But Paul had stepped back to do some more damage to the wave. So Kaidan lives, at least for the time being.
Phantom Shell still available for this Hecate as well, so no big deal in terms of staying alive at that point. Good damage onto Paul. Uses the clone to try and make some space, but a trade in the solo lane coming out through that tower shot, taking the final blow onto Sot. What an interesting way for the first deaths of these solo laners to go down. I mean, we did see the rotation over from Party Person to clean things up should that situation have, you know, gone differently. But if I'm Arc Atlas, I'm not mad about that at all. If Sot's making a, you know, uncharacteristically sloppy play like that, then by all means, you take those.
For sure. I really feel like you can't complain about the little things. One thing that's problematic, though, for Name and Progress, Aurora's been just hanging out in the jungle. We saw the attempt for speed earlier. Now we see her by the back camps. That sets up Fenrir for trouble. The Fenrir on Fenrir violence to bring him right back to the Emoja. Only level 3 for mid laner ST. That Brutalize is going to do some big numbies. CC does get him away, but how long will that last? Now Paul in trouble. The stun actually hits the Hecate. The Loki blink past, and Paul will go down to Kaidan. Very surprising turn of events there. The blink was massive, and meanwhile, in the solo lane, Panatom ganked over and found a pick onto Arc Atlas.
Buff's also getting invaded on that right-hand side. We do see that party person is heading on over there, trying to secure the buff. Does not get either of them, unfortunately, but 3 members of Name in Progress do make their way over to try and punish Zot. But realistically, who's the one getting punished?
Gets brought back. How long can the Odin just stand there? Nobody's punished Panatom at all. Now the up down. The one punished is Kaidon. A big pickup. There is a shutdown on the Panatom, but can you get more than that? The River's Rebuke is out a mid laner. Lower, gone. A double kill for Aurora. Support mains, rise up. One more. Gets it. A triple kill for Aurora.
Now, if that isn't a highlight play, you put that on your reel. I tell you what, if you could put just spike clips into a job application, that certainly is one that you put in there.
Great day to be a support main right there. The amount of people who are gonna insta-lock Yamota and be like, no, like, look, I can, look what I'll do.
I want to do
me,
that.
Guys.
Yamota is such an interesting character because she has incredible skill ceiling potential, like we just saw Aurora do. Keeping his team alive, dealing damage, throwing down the walls. I mean, just clean play from the support of Cowabunga at this point in time. And it's only going to get cleaner with that level of an advantage going over to that team.
That's an adventurous 5 minutes we've seen. I do like the Name in Progress they're not playing, maybe afraid is the right word, Lermy. I almost expect them to be a bit more timid, and I was worried because they picked a composition that needs to fight to thrive, but they really haven't seemed that way. It seems like they're not afraid to tussle.
They know that they need to get active to make sure that they keep up, because if they don't, then Cowabunga's going to do it for them. We've already seen Aurora be lurking at even the back camps of Name in Progress, so they need to do something about that, or they're going to continuously lose a bunch of farm.
Damage on a Phantom. Stepping away. A lot of damage. Gone.
Huge.
Party person arrived at the perfect time. And Kaidon makes some good responses off of it. That was a great play there from Kaidon to have some trust in party person to do that damage alongside of it as well. We said it from game 1, Lermy, but there are some positives that do stand out in the play of Name in Progress.
Indeed, they are making great plays mechanically. It's going to be all about how they play around their team, and when they play like that, they certainly are showing that they are capable of doing a lot more. But unfortunately here, for our Catlets gets stuck trying to get out. One more hit would do it, but maybe a heal would be good enough. Unfortunately not, when Sot is there, able to claim another life.
Ball looking to see what they can do. Odin's a transformation. The cage is out. The up-down damage will it be enough. Not quite.
Oh.
The blink to get away, utilizing that second relic. And a great escape from Paul. It got dangerous in the time being, but when Paul's in the Morgan, is he ever really in danger?
That is the fun part about the Morrigan in Smite 2, is that she also gets to take your enemy, your allies, or whoever you're turning into. Their relic is now yours. And considering that Panatom did get the blink, that coincidentally has saved Paul's life in that situation, which is just, it's so much fun to see how players use that kind of interaction, those small differences between Smite 1 and Smite 2, and how they really choose to use this extra control they've been given.
Trying to see where Name in Progress can continue to go. And it looks like Party Person picking a fight and doing a lot of damage to Panatom, not taking on that Odin. The Assassinate combined with the Spell Eater is enough, and another pickup. 5 to 8 now, and 4K gold is scary, but the signs of life are there for Name in Progress. I'm going to say it 1,000 times, because any positives after such domination in game 1, it just speaks so many volumes.
This team of Cowabunga is incredibly skilled, do not get me wrong, but after a game 1 like that, it's hard to see your enemies with the exact same respect that you do abroad in game number 1, right? And you can definitely see that there's just a little bit of lackadaisicalness to what
Sure.
Cowabunga is doing in these fights. But, you know, considering their tenure, we know that that's okay. It's not the end of the world for this team by any means. I mean, there's still 4K in the lead, right? So none of these things are true problems by any stroke of the imagination. But blink in from this
damage?
Loki.
Is it enough? It is! Hostile Puppy will get the credit. Party Person!
Oh!
Shell! It was huge! Hostile Puppies got their junglers back, and they get a pick onto Yark. Mid laner ST, however, not quite as lucky towards the mid lane, and a 4th kill for Aurora, by the way.
Listen,
Level 9
you got
Yamoja.
the enemy ADC for your support. That is a good trade if I've ever seen one.
almost a really dangerous situation there for Arc Atlas. Had that ultimate been caught, might have been GG's, but does get it away, so lives to see another day. Kaidan not quite safe. The Panatom won't go for the dive quite yet either. Kaidan, again, player to watch, but this Hekate performance has been notable. And Lermy, is there a point where the Hekate can get so strong? I mean, good pilot or any pilot, is that going to be enough for Name and Progress to play around?
It certainly could be, but it'll depend how this Gold Fury goes, right? We need to see some level of contest from Name and Progress, but so far Yark is doing a great job distracting the ADC. Mid laner doesn't know. This is going down real fast as well, so that is a free Gold Fury there for Cowabunga. Just no eyes on where the enemies had been, and so they're trying to find some other level of objective to take it back. Paul sees this Naga going on, might try to get involved, but great stun there from the Fenrir does at least make some space. Naga gets secured by Name and Progress, and they'll continue to walk away.
Muscle Puppy gets stunned out. The ultimate's the response, attempting to get away from Pantom, but gets stunned out, then caught in the cage. Nowhere to go. Should just fall down. There it is. Yark with the last shot to do it. Now, while there has been positives to look at, you know, no ignoring that that's now a pretty significant gold lead for 10 minutes, as well as the 10 kills, and might be an 11th in total. Sot can't catch burst through the week, however. So Arc Atlas lives further. You know, it's great survival so far from Arc Atlas for sure.
Yeah, been able to at least stay alive, which, as we were talking about, holding the line is the most important part. But the problem is, even though he hasn't really, you know, died all that much, I mean, I guess we can't really say that he's died 4 times. He hasn't fallen down too much. He's 3 levels down. There's really no easy way to put that.
Ragnarok won't find the bite, plus beads out from Aurora to keep safe. There's the beads paying off. I still can't get over the level differential. That's kind of crazy to point out. And Aurora, I mean, Aurora's a higher level in the emotion. Oh, man.
This is tough right now across the board. We're seeing 8K at 11 minutes in. It's only about to get worse. That was really close there. Right? Uh-oh territory has been achieved for sure. Arc Atlas once again in danger. Sot really just putting the pressure on, forcing Arc Atlas to go back one more time. No objective on the board at all here for either team to contest at this point. So really, it's up to Cowabunga to find their own objective and force a fight somewhere. They've done a great job at keeping Solo Lane pressured. I mean, Sot's really doing that on his own, if you ask me, but there has been some amount of pressure from Panatom on that side to keep things rolling. Realistically, the thing that you can do in this interim between the Gold Fury spawn and now is grab a tower, but we'll have to see where that focus ends up lying. They're doing a bit of that over here in duo. Not going to be able to get too much because the wave is dead, but still, providing some solid pressure to keep this left-hand side pushed up, focused out, get Yark fed. Never a bad thing.
Loki looking for a fight with Paul, but Paul is level 13. I think party person realized that'd be dangerous. Another ultimate forced away from Arc Atlas for survivability. In the duo lane, Jingwei getting pressured out too, and Lermy, the call that you've pointed out with duo being pressured is Jingwei can do so much damage late game, but if you don't let the Jingwei get there, my goodness, look at the attention over in duo. She'll be less of a problem, and Yark, I mean, we even saw earlier, Hostile Puppy almost was able to get a 1v1 on Yark, got him pretty low, but couldn't follow through. Mid lane of Ragnarok brings Paul back, has transformed into the Odin. Cage out, will the jump away be good? It is, there's the blink to follow, but the blink out from Paul was good. You get that relic when you transform. Now Panatom, the real Odin, blinks in, stun good, damage even better, and party person goes down. Get off of Panatom's mid laner.
That is a lot of damage and a lot of cooldown from this Odin. Doing their best to make some space here to get Sot in. Nice stun there by Paul onto mid laner ST. Takes them down is Sot. Forces the Phantom Shell on from Kaidan there to get away. And that is the middle tower gone. And everyone was like, oh yeah, you know, they have to find their own objectives. Maybe do some towers. Well, they've done the 2 easy towers. And guess what? It's Gold Fury time, which means that their objective efficiency is off the charts here.
Through the roof indeed, and the only answer could be Hostile Puppy, who would have to go through so much, would probably just die in the first place. It's just a straight up concede from Name and Progress. Definitely the wisest choice, and 2 Gold Furies now for Cowabunga. We're getting closer to Pyromancer time, Fire Giant time, and we're not in nearly as bad of a spot as we were in Game 1. If you are rooting for Name and Progress, it's just going to take almost even harder situations to work out for Name and Progress. You need even more dominoes to fall just because you're closer. But composition-wise, you rely on so much more. Things like the Mordred does get the ult, but, I mean, Lermy Sot's not dying anytime soon, right?
No, especially when, unfortunately for Party Person, they've taken the wrong pathing around town, tried to go south when Sot went north, and Sot is going to be able to hide and try to get back, jump in from the Fenrir, does not catch the Bacchus, he makes it on back. An unfortunate commitment there on the right-hand side does not pay off for Name and Progress. And Sot is more than happy to just get on back, grab some items, teleport back to lane, and chill like nothing even happened.
Kaidan. That's my go-to, I think, if I'm Name and Progress. Get Kaidan forward and have Party Person continue. Weirdly enough, Party Person's been almost setting up in a sense. Like, mid laner ST is the support, but Party Person's setup has been how Kaidan's gotten picks. But when I look at all those options, when I'm piecing together the dichotomy of a team fight that Name and Progress put forward, my eyes go to who you've been pointing out a lot this game, Arc Atlas, and I don't know if you have enough from your Mordred. Pyro pulled from Cowabunga, no answer from Name and Progress. How do you get the Mordred up in time for these fights?
You just can't when there's so much focus on him like this. I mean, having to use Pursue the Weak every single time like this. I've only really seen one other use of the ability aggressively. It's just not the place where you want to be, where you're having to use your big ultimate, your pop-off moment, or what should be your pop-off moment as an escape. And while it does keep him alive several times, it's not going to be enough going forward, especially when right now the target for Cowabunga is the Fire Giant.
They've got it low. Sot's playing the defense, gets pulled away with Open the Gates, but I think Sot's okay with that because he got to chase Kaidan down. Look at the damage onto the Hekate, just no answer. The rest of Name and Progress cannot get through to the Fire Giant. Ragnarok on the Sot, plenty okay for now. Fire Giant goes to Cowabunga. They look for the pick on Arc Atlas. It was basically handed to them. Sot's still alive, still throwing. Finally shut down by Kaidan, but damage done. So much time was bought by Solo Troll for Cowabunga to get the Fire Giant.
They sure did, and now that there's a full minion wave running down this right-hand side, Yark is more than content to sit there and push that up. Meanwhile, Panatom goes over to this left-hand side to stop this Jing wave from split pushing. They knew that they weren't going to be able to do all that much in that fight, so realistically, grabbing some farm for Hostile Puppy was the way to go. But the question is, will they be able to defend this right-hand side Phoenix? It seems like yes. There's still many other objectives on the board for Cowabunga to take without risking their lives at this Phoenix, especially because all of these right-hand side buffs are coming up. And really, that's the name of the game, is rip every ounce of farm out of the jungle, prevent all of Name and Progress from making any progress further in their builds, and you're feeling pretty dang good if you're Cowabunga.
Aurora got the triple earlier. I don't know about a 1v5. Only so much one Yamocha can do and gets picked off at the back camps of Name and Progress. Cowabunga mostly grouped up around mid. Yark going over towards the blue to clear that out. Sot's not nearby, so still some time to buy for Name and Progress. Some time to farm as well, which is desperately needed. Still, I mean, it's been almost 10 minutes since the last time we pointed this out, but Aurora is still a level above Arc Atlas. So you just got to find a place for Arc Atlas to get some farm at this point. It's becoming dire.
Yeah, I mean, listen, the shutdown onto Aurora is nice. You get to spread some gold out amongst your team, which is never a bad thing, right? And there are plenty of available bounties to take should they grab some more kills. But the problem is actually finding the opportunities, because the Name and Progress is 12k down right now. Cowabunga, if they clean things up, if they were playing 100% seriously, 100% in and locked in for this game, this would be open and shut case. However, we need to see Name and Progress take advantage of these little sloppy mistakes, right? And here's the thing. It's not because Cowabunga is bad. Of course, we've been gassing up Cowabunga this whole set as some of the crowd favorites, incredible veterans, right? But that's the thing. When you lose respect for your opponents, and listen, it's not that they don't respect them at all, it's just you know that you don't have to try your heart out to win this game.
Right, they're getting
You do open
sloppy,
yourself
making
up.
some plays, getting hyper aggressive.
Exactly. So when we see those situations happen, like we did when Aurora got picked, when Sock got picked, things of this nature, if we can see Name in Progress continue to capitalize on them, there are still options. Problem is, that's the only option.
I'm so afraid for Name in Progress of these next fights. Because I've been, I always kind of root for the underdog. You got to root for the dark horse, but in trying to look for ways in, I mentioned it before, but Arc Atlas just not enough farm, and even Party Person has kind of been the setup for Kaidan. I don't know how you do that anymore, because looking at builds, Paul has had so much come online. If the Loki shows up, probably just gets one shot by Paul and Yark.
There's just so much setup on the side of Cowabunga, especially now that we're seeing some actives come online for our tankier targets. I mean, 2 Pharaoh's curses on the side of Cowabunga on both Sot and on Panatom. That's going to be incredibly difficult for the enemies to walk away from. I mean, thankfully there is some slow immunity coming out for Party Person on the Loki, but everybody else is going to have to deal with that once every 30 seconds at the earliest, because Pharaoh's Curse has such a short cooldown and such a strong effect.
A lot of shouts for Pharaoh's Curse today, for sure, but, I mean, itemization is going to be huge, but you need every little thing if you are Name in Progress, but you cannot afford to get picked anywhere. And Party Person has been locked onto by Sot. Gonna be tough to escape, and you will not be. Party Person picked up and put down. A tough one for sure.
Panatom puts some pressure on that left-hand side, makes some room around this Phoenix. Aurora doing his best to try to isolate the enemies, is holding on right now to the ultimate, but huge one there from the Hecate to try and make some space. Paul grabs one, Panatom grabs the Phoenix,
Here they come.
and a nice bounce back from Aurora to force out the airstrike.
Cowabunga are done playing games. They're done taking risks and no more sloppy. They want the game. They got 2 to go through. Low health bars. Big ultimate from Paul to bring back Hostile Puppy. And down they will go. The last one standing is Kaidan. And Name in Progress, they've been leaning on Kaidan for the last few weeks, but this situation feels impossible. Party Person, it was improbable. And Cowabunga, the undeniable, are ready to take this game. They're just going to take 1 or 2 more picks on the way out. But that Titan eventually, Lermy, eventually, that Titan will fall. And Cowabunga, we go into the playoffs.
Only 2,000 health left on this guy. Yeah, that's about the game for Cowabunga. Heading to the playoffs, but not before Kaidan gets a sneaky kill onto Paul. A nice knock on that KD that Paul is known so much for. But realistically, this was just a knockout 2-0 for our good friends over at Cowabunga. Just an insane set across the board. What we expected, but hopefully a really nice learning experience there for Name in Progress as well, playing against one of the top teams in the world.
Hey, if you want to get better, that is how you do it. You play situations like that if you are Name in Progress. And I assume they're going to walk away with a lot, and they are not eliminated. Not an elimination game. They just go to the 2-1 side of the bracket. But for Cowabunga, they remain fan favorites. They remain strong. They go right to the playoffs. They can take a cozy seat and hang out and wait for quite a bit before they have any more competition come their way. And I think Name in Progress, I'm going to be very keen to see what they do in their next matchup next week, Lermy. I want to see how much they take away from this matchup and from their VOD review.
Exactly. And Cowabunga is done for now. This was their last set since they qualified, so they will not be showing up for at least a little bit. Have a nice time to relax. But like you said, Name in Progress still has to prove that they belong in the playoffs. They've got another chance after this one. And again, we've talked so much about how you learn so much when you play against teams that are difficult to beat. And boy, is there not many teams harder to beat than Cowabunga. So a great learning experience. Something to take notes on and pass forward, and they're going to have to continue to adapt and continue to work through all of their issues that they've been having in the next sets going forward.
Well, we do have more more gaming around the corner. Not quite the end of our day here. That was the end of the set between Cowabunga and Name in Progress. And again, Cowabunga, it looked as good as Cowabunga looks. Especially at the end, they got a little fancy with it. Took their time to to take Name in Progress down, but keep your eyes out. Next week, Smite Too Long didn't watch. I'm sure whoever grabs NA this week will take us on a deep dive of what that could potentially mean going forward and how Name in Progress can look to improve. Lots of games going on throughout the dates, though, Lermy, and a lot of interesting stuff with gods as well. I will say some of the god selections have surprised me, some haven't. I mean, the Baron Yamoja prioritization makes sense, but what stuck
Yep.
out to you?
I've got to say, I've been seeing a lot of this Odin still persisting, even though he got some very solid nerfs coming through over the past week. I've been loving seeing the Hekate, of course, still very strong character. But I think across the board, I'm really happy to see that Neith is still on the table, right? Because she did eat a pretty big nerf to her passive and her ultimate over the past week. And it's just surprising how resistant these characters are to nerfs in
She's
some
still
extent,
blowing
right?
people up.
She sure still is. So we'll be keeping an eye on these characters, especially going forward, as there will be more balance coming in these next weeks, right? You got to be prepared for that if your team's playing in this tournament, because the balance is changing every week. Could change a lot, could change a little. It's going to depend on what the meta is looking like, and these games sure do shape those decisions. So they've got to be careful going forward.
More balance and more gaming, but first, a quick break. Do not go anywhere. We'll be right back.